All right, so this is how I normally start my process. When I'm drawing a comic book cover, I like to give myself and the editors a few options. So I'll do what these things are called thumbnails. All right. Now these thumbnails are just smaller versions of the comic covers that you do, or the pages that you do, like the internal pages to a comic. That way, the editor can see what it's going to look like before you draw it and before you put all this time and effort into it. And then they tell you, oh, that's not what we want. This way they can say, you know what, I like this. Let's take that out. Let's put this in. Let's make sure the character is in front and not in back, so on and so forth. And in that process, it's a lot easier for the artist to create what the editor, the writer, and all that stuff want. Okay, so this cover, I'm just gonna do a random cover. Now, what you want to do, you want to focus. There's this grid that a lot of people would use, and the grid looks like this. Okay, so what you do, you got to think of your marquee, which would be your prices, your logos, all that kind of stuff. And the marquee would be like, say, like this. We'll call this one Hero, okay? Because it's a hero. Hero! Okay, so you got that in there, right? And the reason why I use this grid is so that way you know exactly where you're supposed to put the character. Now, with this basic single character, most people, and you know, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of different formulas for doing a comic cover, but this is the basic one that everybody uses. You put the main character in the middle, of course, looking directly at you at one of those superhero poses, right? Let's have him kind of look like grasping. Am I saying that right? Well, kind of grasping at you. Let's make it a little lighter. There we go. So you have this. You have his fists ready to punch you in case you don't like what he likes and all that. Okay, so and let's do that. So one leg up front, one leg in the back. So that'd be one of your basic covers, because what you're doing is you're centering on this being the focal point. You gotta have the, you know, your marquee up here, but this is your focal point. Whatever he's doing, you're looking at his face. Now that's the rule of thumb when it comes to comic books and human anatomy and human beings on the covers, is that you'll most likely be looking at the character's face first. So even if it's Spider-Man, where he doesn't really have lips and mouth and all that stuff, you're still looking at those big eyes and where he's looking. So if he's fighting against Venom, then that's where you look at his face first. So in fact, let's do that. So again, you got your Spider-Man marquees or whatever. Spidey! Okay. Let's, for example, say we'll make him smaller. Square jaw. Let's see what he does. Right. Let's make it so that way, oh my goodness, he's coming out of nowhere and I didn't see him. Right. Let's again put the Spider-Man. Right, because he's always got that crazy hands and all that. Again, I'm just using basic techniques to frame out my work. So, excuse me. The basic techniques will always be there for you, so that way you can build upon what you're doing. Now, like say for example, this is Spidey, right? If it's a Spider-Man cover and you want it to be bold or whatever, Then you can have Venom. Oh, look, I got big teeth. I'm going to eat you with my tongue and stuff. Right? And it's funny because the Venom tongue has taken on its own persona. You know, it's not just Venom's tongue. It's like, oh, Venom's tongue is doing something on its own. So for example, another way to make everything seem really like dynamic is making it so that way it's not just one dimensional. So you have Spider-Man in the front, right? So you have Spider-Man in the front. You're looking at his face, but his focus is Venom, right? Okay, so that's a single character. That's a double character. Let's go to multiple characters, okay? Multiple characters is like, say, for example, X-Men, okay? Now, even if you don't have the marquee here, you know, because now they have like virgin covers and variant covers, and, you know, sometimes they'll put the marquees down here or wherever. It's the same basic structure when you're thinking about doing a cover, because you want that cover to be eye-catching. You want it to be like, it's either in your face, right? Like, you better buy this comic or else I'm going to punch you in the face. Or you got the dynamics of two characters about to fight. I mean, we're talking at the crescendo where they've been, you know, going around the city and they barely fighting, but now this is where they really get into it. It's the moment before the moment, okay? Now, multiple, like say for example, you have 5 characters, right? Like X-Men. Okay, there's Jean Grey, Cyclops, Beast, so on and so forth, Iceman and Angel. What you want to do, you want to make it kind of a little bit different than just having them like, oh, okay, so there's one there, one there, one there, one there. What you want to do, you have one in the top, one a little bit below, one a little bit below that, one kind of centered, and let's say, for example, one in the front. Now, the reason why I say this is because you give dimension to it. Again, it's all about the layers, right? So you have Beast. I'm Beast, and I'm going to beat you up because I'm big, blue, and furry. Right? So you got Beast. Then, say you got Iceman. Now, again, this is like foreground, mid, and background. Right? So you got Iceman. He's coming in on this side. But you have, what you want to do, you want to kind of focus on the main character, or is the leader in this one. You got Cyclops, and he's coming in the middle. You got Jean Grey. Let's make her facing outward. Right, you got Jeannie. And she's like, oh, I love my Cyclops, but I also love the other short dude, and he's all hairy and stuff. But, you know, he's Wolverine, so I love him anyway. Right? So, and then you got Archangel. Okay? Now, with Archangel, you can do all kinds of stuff with him because he's got wings. So, in case you do have, like, open area like this right here, all of a sudden, that's where you put wings. Okay, now what I've done there is I put multiple layers. So now you got the single character, which is looking straight at you, you know, getting your eyeball to his eyeball, and that confrontation between the comic cover and you, like the character, that's a one-on-one situation. Like multi-character or like double character, you have to spread that dynamic around. Make sure that they're interacting. Then you got the team builder, where your focus is always on, like your face, or not your face. Your focus will always be upon the faces, but you don't want the faces to be just squared off. You know, you don't want one here, 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 and here. Because you look like a domino. Your mind automatically thinks it's just oh well, you know, it's boring. But if you scatter them around in a dynamic way, then even if they're just facing at you, you know, looking directly at you, you can still feel that, okay, Beast is up front, you know, and then he's got the rest of the team in the middle, and Archangel's coming in from behind just in case everybody needs help. So that's where your dynamic would go. Okay, then you have the variant cover. I can't say like well, it's a dynamic where instead of having the normal, like say X-Men or whatever, you'd have, say for example, a single character, but you know, it's very like, oh, I'm so deep in emotion, and like there's rain coming down on me, and I don't know, Mary Jane left me and stuff, and I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should quit my job, and it's very artistic. Now the reason why I say that is like it's always artistic. No matter what you draw, there's always art involved, right? There's a very artistic way of looking at stuff. But this one is more of a, okay, it's meant to be looked at as very powerful, you know. And this is just an example. There's so many, like David Mack does variants that, I mean, man, it's just amazing. But John Romita Jr. does. I mean, there's so many variants now that it's insane. But they're made to invoke more than just a catcher eye response. They're made to really like when you look at the image, you're like, oh man, Spider-Man's in the rain. He's looking up. I don't know what's inside this comic, but I know he's hurting, and I want to know why he's hurting. So that's the gist of it. Now these are just the basic covers. There's so many different ways to do a cover, but this is just the basic ways to do it. Hopefully you learned something, and if you want any more information, if you want me to continue to do this, like with the covers, and you know, actually go from thumbnails to finished cover, let me know in the comments, and you know, in the like, subscribe, and notification button, hit all those. But yeah, definitely put in a comment and let me know what you think. All right, guys, it's been about 12 minutes, 13 minutes, and I am out of here. Aloha.